Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Socialpreneur Podcast. I am Allison, or better yet, your favorite Instagram influencer, blogger, whatever you want to call it. I'm going to own it now. Absolutely, Allie. So, welcome. This is, I think, episode 5. I might be wrong, but I think it's episode 5 of season 2. We've had some good people already on, and I'm excited for our guest today. Make sure you're sharing our podcast. I love for other entrepreneurs to get some tips and tricks and everything that we have to offer. I'm also looking for other guests. So if you know somebody that is a socialpreneur, that would be amazing. Guest, please let me know. You can send me an email at Allie, ALLI, at Absolutely Allie. So let's jump into today's show. I have Colleen Biggs from Lead Up for Women. I'm excited. Colleen and I just met maybe a month ago on another Zoom with a lot of other entrepreneurs. And this is the first time we've really got to talk face to face. So I'm super excited for her to share what she's doing, what she's up to, and all things in between. So welcome, Colleen. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thanks, Allison. And I should just call myself like everything Colleen or something, I feel like I need to have some type of tag, right? And
Right.
I don't know why this is the first time we've spoken. Like, we need to connect more. And,
Yes.
that's what I do. If there's a name, if there's a tag that goes with my name, I'm Colleen, the collaborator and connector. That's what I do
I love
for a
that.
living. But truly, what I'm behind, my movement, my business, everything I do, every arm of my business, every business I start, which I'm on my 3rd one now, every single one of them has to do with helping women step into the spotlight to expand their influence. And Allison, I came from the corporate world, and you can either call me a corporate dropout or you can call me a retired corporate person. I don't really care what you call me.
Either one's great.
All I know is I blew up the box, I got off the wheel, and I wanted to create a space for women to be able to support each other, to be able to lean on each other, to be able to feel like they're in a safe and nurturing environment, to share their voices and speak up. And I wanted to be different. That is no surprise. I do not like to do things the way that the rules are set. I like to break the rules, go against the grain. So, of course, when I set up my community, it was not just about collaboration. It was not just about connecting and networking and a directory and a lot of things that, current women's communities out there are. I wanted to set up one that not only provided women credibility, but gave them real platforms and spotlights to step on that promote them, because we are in a very oversaturated social media world. And unless you stand out, it's very hard to get noticed. Allie, you would know that.
Exactly.
1,000%, right?
Right.
So we just, as I launched this in 2019, we do it a little differently. So we provide them a magazine, and in this magazine, they get to write an article so that they become a published author. On the podcast, they get to be a guest. So now that they have the media that they've been in, and they can have that on their website. Then we hold and promote workshops for them where they're member ran. So we promote them, we drive registrations, and then they have an hour training that they get the recording of. So now they can put that on their website or use that as other materials to repurpose. So it's not just about promoting, it's about providing them real credibility. We do Thrive Thursdays and Member Monday Spotlights, and we're constantly doing everything in our power to promote women and put their businesses and their brand out there first.
Right. You are, I don't want to say a jack of all trades, a Jane of all trades with everything entrepreneurship and everything like women. I love this. And I love that you're out there helping to promote women and their businesses. How did you get your start? I know you said that you were a dropout from the corporate America, but how did you get to corporate America, and then how did you leave?
Well, that's funny you call me the Jane of all trades, because my middle name is Jane. So,
Yeah.
first of all, my mom gave birth to me. She named me Colleen Jane. There's how I got my name. That's how I'm the
Yeah.
Jane of all trades. But I started in the corporate world, honestly, when I was 17 years old. I got my first job in corporate. I think I was 16, actually. Got my first job in corporate. I never looked back. I was this little entrepreneur in every position they put me in, and I never knew that till I looked back. But every position I would be put in as a job, I did it so well, Allie, like
Awesome.
so good, right?
Hmm.
That when I left, they would have to hand off this massive amount of responsibilities to like 5 people. And I'm not
I
kidding.
love it.
Every time I went to a different job. So I landed in my last position probably for, I think it was 18 years. I retired
Hmm.
there after 18 years. That's where I built my skills of business launching and scaling. So for 18 years, I have been launching businesses. I've launched over 340 businesses. I've helped CEOs scale their businesses, to past $1 million. And really, it's not as hard as everybody thinks. It's very, very basic. And a lot of it really starts with understanding that the community wants your flavor, they want your authenticity, they want you. And it's not necessarily all about the brand. The brand is you and how you connect with your community, or however your community is, how you teach, how you market yourself, how you position yourself, how you lead in that community matters. And so you can start any business you want. You just have to authentically show up as you, and that's really what helps you stand out. Like, what is it about your meat and your juice
Right.
that makes you so different from other people? Because Allie, there are 1,000,000,000 influencers on Instagram. Like,
You are
what made you
correct.
stand out, right? What was it that, how did you have that success? And you have that story, right, of how you had that success for you.
Right. I always tell people, and it's funny that you bring that up. I tell my students, I said, don't reinvent the wheel. Like, you're an influencer, you're a blogger, don't reinvent the wheel. Take stuff that you're attracted to, that other people are attracted to, but put your own spin on it. Because
Mhm.
if they already like it, they're going to like it a little bit more with you in it or something different. So it's the same for brands. There are 18,000 shoe brands, not really, but every different one has their own spin on it.
Mm-hmm.
You
Yeah. So look at my business Lead Up for Women. How many women's organizations exist out there today? There's
know?
tons of them. I took what I love about having a community of women and I put my spin on it, and how I wanted a community of women and how I wanted women to be able to be seen and spotlighted, because I know during my whole time in corporate America, the hardest thing for me was to get noticed. The way you got noticed was standing in the spotlight and saying, hey, look at me, look at what I can do, look at what I did, taking claims for things that you did, right?
Right.
There's the whole corporate thing of there's no I in team. It really is the way that world works. It's really crazy. You have to stand out and be the I and say, I did this, I did that, I want to do this, this is what I want in my career, because they're not telepathic and they can't
Mhm.
read your mind. But the minute I spoke out, my career like catapulted. And then I became an executive in a company. But then the view didn't look so great from there anymore because it was more sacrifice and more time. And I think, Allie, I think I made like $2 an hour by the time I left, honestly, if we're going to talk about it, because you're just working so many hours. And people are like, well, I don't want to leave my job and start a side hustle or start a business. And everyone has their ways of, you have to make this much money on the side before you can
Mhm.
leave. I cold turkey left a very comfortable 6-figure job, didn't have a clue how I was going to make money. And I just, 2.5 years later, 3 years, well, I guess we're 3 years later, I built 3 businesses.
I
So
love that.
we can do it. You can
I
do
love
it.
that. I keep telling my husband this because I still have a full time job and I'm putting it out there. And I have my, and I don't call them side hustles because it's not they're legitimate businesses that I make great money at. But he's just like, oh, a little bit more, a little bit more. So he needs to talk to you. But what I love and what I got from what you just said is find out what works and do it. Simple and
Mhm.
easy. A lot of people try a bunch of different things and they're like dabbling here and dabbling there, but they know what works. They just won't do that
Mhm.
one thing. They're doing all these other things, that one thing too, but they're not doing that one thing to the fullest potential they can.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you've ever read the book, The One Thing, which is a
Mhm.
beautiful book, and I think it's Gary, hold on, I've got it on my desk, Gary Keller. Gary Keller. So the one thing, what I love about that book is he talks about it in a domino effect. So
Mm,
anyone can see this visually, right? If you fuel the first domino enough by doing that one thing, it progresses enough fuel to knock all the dominoes down. So that means if you focus on the one thing in your business that fuels everything. So let's say getting exposure is the one thing in your business that's going to help you get more clients. Then what can you do for exposure? Get on more podcasts, get on, out there on LinkedIn more, get on more speaking opportunities, get on more
right,
stages, apply for, if that's the one thing, then all your efforts should be applied to getting exposure, because that's the fuel that leads on how you attract the rest of your business, right? So
right.
I think we're women especially, and I know that you've got different women or men in your viewership and listenership, but I can tell you that for women alone, and why I work with women exclusively, is because we weren't raised that way. We were raised with serving everyone else first. And that's
Hmm.
not every generation. That's my generation and probably the generation before me. And what we need to remember is, if we're not in business, if you are not focused on your business and promoting that and screaming it from the mountaintops, then no one else is going to do it for you. Like, you have to lead with your own permission, because nobody's coming to rescue you. It doesn't work that way in business.
She just said something. If you all don't take anything else away from this podcast, she literally just told you what you need to do in order to fuel your business and to lead up as a woman or a man and be
Yep.
seen. Like, most people shy away from telling people about what they're doing and shy away from putting it out there. If you do not put it out there, then nobody's going to see it. Who's going to see it? Who's going to be your promoter?
Mm-hmm.
So, with lead up for women, how did that really start? I know you've talked a little bit about it, but what was the spark that did it for you?
I was sitting at a conference in August of 2018 with a good friend of mine who's a magazine publisher, and he runs like a networking meetup for brands and vendors. So in my past life, I needed to meet people that could help me with the stuff that the businesses needed. So brands and vendors are great to meet, right? So he
Hmm.
creates a purposeful meetup. I was in a room with all women, it was 16 of us. They asked a question, what is your story? They used to ask, what's on your plate right now? What's keeping you busy? What is something you need to learn? All this stuff is blah, 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 right?
Hmm.
They said, what is your story? And we went around the room and you could hear a pin drop, because all these women were sharing who they were, where they're from, why they do what they do, how their parents influenced them, how other people treated them through trying to get to the position they're at, the different, just everything in their life, career, personal, some the loss of spouses, some divorce, some loss of children. And I mean, we were all crying. And we got
Hmm.
around, and I'm still very close with those women today. And I thought to myself, there's such power when women finally feel safe enough to speak up and talk about their journey, where they've been. And I learned more in that 3 hours than I probably learned in that whole weekend or any other event that I've ever had that he's put on, because of that one moment. And I got up out of my chair, walked over to him at break, and I said, I'm going to start a women's organization because women's voices need to be heard. Are you in? Or are you out? And he was like, no, I'm in. I'm in. Just tell me how you want to do this. So the next morning, he announced it to everyone and said, hey, so Colleen and I were going to be starting this, this women's organization. And everyone's getting all excited. He's like, so we'll be telling you more. And from that point, that was August 2018, and we launched in January of 2019. And I'll tell you a secret. I was sitting in Chicago with my husband on a business trip, and in the lobby, like bar restaurant area in
Hmm.
Chicago, there's great architecture, right? Just great architecture in Chicago. And there's these arrows. I kept seeing arrows everywhere. We would sit on rooftop bars. I would see arrows everywhere. And I started drawing out what the names lead up. I just didn't know what to call it, but it just kept coming to my mind. It's something about leading, but leading up, like leading from where you are, but not only taking other people and helping them, but how do we lead from where we are and how do we continue to grow and do that? And I literally asked the bartender, was asking him, hey, what do you think? What are the designs you like? What do you think? And that's what started Lead Up with the arrows. That's why you get the lead with the arrow and the arrows that go up. And that was all really because I was sitting in Chicago and these arrows, I just saw them everywhere. And, how their architecture is built, I was very impressed by it. And that's where the brand came from, honestly.
Everything happens for a reason. I'm a proponent of that. So obviously the name came when it was supposed to come, but I also like how you talked about, you asked the guy who you're with, who I assume I might know, and he said, I'm in. And the next morning or the next day, he put it out there to the world. And it was maybe to you, it might have been like, oh, okay, we're doing this now.
Yeah.
It's, yeah,
Yeah.
somebody pushed you right
And
into it.
it's actually a different David. It's not the David you're thinking. It's a different David. So
Okay.
I didn't even know David Fagan then, but my partner that I started Lead Up with is David Corson. And
Okay.
so, but he's a huge publisher of a magazine for commercial real estate and construction, and is out of Atlanta, Georgia. So,
Ooh,
yeah.
awesome. Awesome. So where has this idea that sparked this little interest, where has it taken you and where has it taken other women?
Wow. I mean, Allie, I think about what I've been able to accomplish in this short amount of time, and I am in awe because I don't even believe I know just the level of the impact I've made and how far it's traveled. I do
Mhm.
know that I'll get random gifts. I got one today. I just get random gifts that come to my house. People will leave me Facebook voice messages and tell me how much I've impacted their lives. It is it's just, I'm so humbled because my work really started with just wanting women to all have a voice and speak up. And it's not necessarily, I'm very business oriented, so I'm not really in the personal development space. That's not what I do, because I do want women to know that they don't have a hobby, they have a business. Some women want to have a hobby, and that's fine. But so many women want to be seen as a real entrepreneur and as a real business owner. And there's no joke that we've had some struggles, whether it
Mhm.
be race, whether it be your gender, on being seen as a real business person. And I mean, it was 30 years ago that I couldn't even get a loan without a man's signature. I mean, it's just so crazy for me to think about that, And so we're living in this archaic world where there's still that dominance, right? And so my goal is really to change the landscape and the blueprint of what it looks like for women to be in business, not just in corporate, because now the seats are available for women, but I want women to feel fueled to speak up and sit in those seats, and then I want them to feel fueled to also be able to lead from that seat.
Right.
And that's why I'm doing this. And that's where it's taken me. It's taken me to so many stages, to companies, to women's businesses, I mean, they're growing. They're not afraid to, stand in the spotlight anymore. They're not afraid, I guess I would say they're not afraid to they don't want to stay in the shadows anymore, because once they get a taste of what it's like to be in the spotlight, they're so excited and they see what happens that they want more of it. It's kind of like, oh, I'm addicted to this now and I want to keep being in the spotlight. So sometimes at first it's a little nerve wracking for them, but then I can tell you after that they get addicted to it and they want more and more. Yeah.
And it's so it's not funny, but it's so great that it's a segue to this next question I'm getting ready to ask you. So, but you just talk about how women are now being out there more, they want to be taken seriously. So I've heard many, many times that 2021 is the year of the woman. Like, have you heard that? Like, it's like we have a woman vice president. There's a lot of women starting their own businesses. There's women that want to be out there and be heard more. So what do you think about that, and what do you see trending coming up soon? 2021, 2022?
Yeah. I said that 1,000 times in 2020 because there was so much scarcity and there was
Mhm.
so much depression. And I did everything in my power in 2020 to fuel women's voices, to help
Mhm.
them stand out, to help them build their businesses so that they didn't, feel like they were succumb, I guess, to what was happening around them, right? Life is happening for us. So you have to find the silver lining in what's happening. And why is it that the women in my circle, and why is it that the women I was affiliating myself with, why is it that we all had record years when other people were struggling? Why is
Right.
that? I really feel like it has a lot to do with your mindset, because when you believe that you can do something, you wind up creating that reality for yourself. So if we believe that 2021 and 2022 is the year of the woman, and now we're going to see a huge dynamic change in the landscape and the blueprint of what that looks like moving forward, and we're all working toward the same goal, then it will happen. But we have to believe it's possible. And I do believe it's changing for sure.
Yeah, I definitely do too. And I totally agree and feel like this 2020 was my best year yet, and 2021 is going to be my best year in most all other women. But you look back and why is it, why are we succeeding and other people are not? But we're here to lift everyone up, and we're here to help people, whether that be in business, whether that be just in life and anything. So, Colleen, let people know where they can find you.
It's easy. I made it easy for everyone. It's Lead Up for Women everywhere. So you can find us on Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube. We're everywhere, and it's Lead Up for Women. You can email us at info@Lead Up for Women. And of course, when you go to our website, we have a lot of digital downloads. You can go claim a free copy of our magazine. It's all written by our members. So there's some great stories in there. A lot to learn, a lot of education, some inspiration and motivation. So again, you're right. We're here to lift all women, no matter who they are, what race, which culture, which diversity. It's really all about coming together as sisters, and being there to lift each other, because strong women lift each other up. Weak women cut each other down. So we're here to lift
Exactly.
each other.
You have been a pleasure. I could keep talking to you about all of this for hours, but I know this is a 20, 30-minute podcast. Thank you so much for agreeing to come on. We will definitely have you back, and you all definitely go follow Colleen, give her like, subscribe, check out her business, definitely, if you are looking for some resources, because I know that she has so many of them. Make sure you like and subscribe to this podcast, and we will be back soon with our next episode. Thank you. Yeah, and bye.
See ya.